I think the host is signing in.
Hello, everybody. This is DJ with Touchpix. We're scheduled to begin at 8:15. I'm signing on. I'm getting things ready. Just give me a few more minutes, then we'll get started.
So it didn't say 5:15.
Okay, Mona.
Sorry,
Oh, okay.
it's 5:15 in my time, 8:15 your time.
Okay.
Or maybe he get people.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Is my audio coming in fine?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so it looks like it's 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 my time on the West Coast. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is going to be a webinar on Touchpix. This is going to be a webinar basically designed to give you all the tools and some tips as far as how to set up an event, what the recommended cameras are, basically from scratch, how to load up a Touchpix event for the first time. I'll explain some of the key features as far as effects, sharing the sharing station, setting up the sharing station, and I'll even go as far as linking it to a Apple TV in the event that you guys want to do this, okay? Just so I could see how many people are familiar with Touchpix, If you're brand new to Touchpix, what I did is I inputted some information on the chat. If you guys have access to the chat, let me see. Let me navigate in that direction now. If you guys have access to the chat, I have some information there regarding what your subscription is entitled to. Once you sign up for a Touchpix subscription, you have access to our support line 7 days a week, right? We are open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and we're operating off the Central Standard Time, right? We do that because we want to meet people in between. We know that a lot of our users are West Coast based or East Coast based, and we're trying to just accommodate everybody's schedule. And we're going to operate with the Central Standard Time schedule from 10 a.m., 7 p.m., 7 days a week. Typically on Saturdays or Fridays and Saturdays, we consider those 2 days as weekends. And those are the days that are heavily used for events. So if you have pretty general questions, we will get to you on a Saturday or Friday or Saturday. However, we prioritize those specific days for people that are out doing events. So if people need some extra assistance, we're going to focus on people that are doing events versus people that are at home just trying to get familiar with the software. Throughout the week, you can call us and we can definitely dedicate a little bit more time where needed. We also have some support YouTube videos. If you look at the chat, I indicated with a link, I provided a link that is tied to the Touchpix YouTube page. In the Touchpix YouTube page, I'm going to toggle over to that page now, and I'm going to see if you guys are able to see that. Yeah, it looks like you guys are able to see that. The Touchpix YouTube page has a lot of short clip videos on how to do certain things. If you're setting up your spinner for the first time, you might want to watch, right, the 360 spinner first setup with Touchpix. It's a short video. That way you don't have to revert to a webinar unless you want to come back and look at this webinar. But these webinars end up being fairly lengthy because I cover everything from the very beginning to the very end. And I want you guys to be equipped with the right tools and recommendations so that way you guys can be successful and be out there making some money quickly. Like I said, this YouTube page is a great resource. You can also look at the other videos that we have for GoPro, for sharing station, for loading video effects. Everything's broken down into short videos to help you understand and navigate through the process. And the other YouTube page that I link is my personal YouTube page. Once these webinars are concluded, I upload most of the webinars onto this YouTube page in the event that you want to revisit something that I either demonstrated live here, or I might have answered a question, or you just might want to look at it at your own pace. You might want to be able to pause and rewind and fast forward, just to make sure that you grasp the concept of this app and how it's tied to your 360. So we're a valuable resource to you. We understand that you're the paying customer and we want to be there for you as much as possible, 7 days a week, 10 a.m., 7 p.m. We're providing you with 2 YouTube pages where you can also, find valuable resources there. The other place that you may want to join is our YouTube page. I'm sorry, our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page that's open to the general public as long as you provide a valid email address, right? And it's called the Touchpix. I'm going to type it in. It's called the Touchpix User Group. I'm actually going to try to link you guys to that specific link and put it on the chat real quick. Just bear with me real quick. I'm going to try to log in. How many of you are brand new to Touchpix and have never used Touchpix before? It gives me a good indication of where to start and how to kind of go about explaining what Touchpix is. If you're brand new to Touchpix, if you can just put the number 1 in the chat, that gives me a good idea of how many callers are brand new to Touchpix, and it kind of gives me an idea of where to start with you guys as far as what I need to show you. Let me go back over here to the chat. If you're a little bit more experienced, you could type in 2 or 3, 2 being moderately familiar, 3 meaning that you're pretty advanced with Touchpix. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So we got a good balance. Feel free. This is a smaller group than usual. Feel free to ask some questions if I am not being clear. You can go ahead and typically I'll wait for the questions to come in at the end. But if you need a little bit more insight, feel free to ask questions and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. I may say wait till the end. In some cases, if I'm going to demonstrate an action, right? You guys will be able to see my iPhone and how it's connected, and you guys will be able to see my sharing station and how it's connected. So the object of this webinar is that you guys that are brand new should be able to follow this webinar. If you follow my recommendations from beginning to end, you should have no problem in setting up a 360 event. In the chat, I also put a link to our Facebook group, which is what I recommend. You guys can join that Facebook group. Feel free to add an email address when you join, and typically they'll let you in within an hour of your requesting. This is another great resource in the event that you may want to ask the community about an issue or about how to do something. A community member that already uses Touchpix will definitely take the time and guide you in the right direction. With that being said, let me put that link again because I think I might have just sent it privately to somebody. Here I go. I put the link up again. As you can see, our group has about 5,000 members, a little bit over 5,000 members. So there's a lot of people in that group that utilize Touchpix or have an interest on Touchpix. Okay, so I'm going to start again with the beginning of this webinar, and I'm going to start it probably a little different than I normally start this webinar. But I'm going to try to explain to you what Touchpix is, how it works, and what the recommended settings are. And definitely want to welcome everybody on this call because I know you're taking time from your day to try to learn 360 software so you can go out there and start making some money. Let me go ahead and switch screens here. Okay, so this is my actual iPhone. So I'm going to show you Touchpix from your, whether it be your iPad or your iPhone. First of all, the recommended device that we recommend for Touchpix use, like we get a lot of questions, is what do we recommend as far as recording device? The recording device that we recommend, we will always recommend either an iPhone 11, 12, or 13. It does not matter which model it is, meaning, you know, we know there's a basic iPhone 11, 12, or 13, and there's a Pro and a Pro Max. Doesn't matter, they will all do the same thing, right? So we definitely recommend either of those devices. Does it work with GoPros? Absolutely. It also works with GoPros. We recommend the GoPro 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but it has to be the Black Series. People ask, well, why does it have to be the Black Series? For the same reason that we recommend iPhone 11, 12, or 13, the Black Series is capable of recording at a high frame rate, which is considered true slow motion, right? The Black Series, out of all the GoPros, whether it be the white or silver, is the only one that is able to capture at a high frame rate of 120 frames per second. So any of those models will do. If you're able to purchase the GoPro 10, that would be the preferred model based on the fact that it's a lot faster in file transfer rates. So I would definitely recommend the 10, but if you don't have the budget for it, anything from a 6, 7, 8, 9, Black version will do just fine. I get a lot of questions indicating, well, what about the iPhones? Can I work with an iPhone X or an XR, right? Yes, it'll work with an X or an XR. Do we recommend it for a video recording device? No. The reason we don't recommend it is because that iPhone doesn't have what's called the ultra wide lens, right? So although it will work and it will record, most of your video shots will look zoomed in, right? You're gonna have to have some type of wide angle lens. That way you have the ability to take really crisp videos without them looking so zoomed in on the actual people that you're trying to capture. Aside from that, do we recommend iPads as recording device? iPads do work, but for the same reason that we don't recommend the iPhone 10 or the XR, that would apply. Also, the other reason I don't recommend an iPad is because sometimes the iPad's pretty large, right? And when we're doing events at festive parties, typically there are some people that don't follow directions very well, and they end up either bumping into the 360 arm, and the iPads are pretty large in size. So meaning that if your iPad falls, it might not survive the fall compared to an iPhone that's not on a pretty nice case, right? And you're going to be very upset if somebody breaks your screen from your iPad. So we don't recommend iPads for actual video recording. However, we do recommend the iPads to have as a extra sharing station, like a sharing kiosk. You want the person up on the 360 to either have to either be recorded by an iPhone, right, or a GoPro, and as soon as that recording session is done, they should be able to get off the platform, walk over to your sharing station, your kiosk, and be able to share that video to themselves. And I'll walk you through the process. So starting from the beginning, what I'm going to do here is I'm showing you the iPhone screen here. I'm going to go over to the App Store on your phone. And I'm going to explain to you a couple of things. I'm going to hit App Store. As you go to the App Store, you're going to see this circle silhouette up on your top right-hand side. Mine has my business logo, right? Yours might have a picture of whatever you've uploaded there, right? But this is typically where you need to be. So when you hit the App Store, you're going to click on this circle right up here. And once you click on it, you're going to see whatever you named your iPhone, it's going to appear here up top under your account. What's important with this is that that specific iPhone is tied to whatever email you created for that account. This is very important. If you're going to buy a regular subscription, you do not want to tie this account to a personal account, meaning that if you're using that iPhone for personal use, right, you don't want to use Touchpix on your personal account. Why? For the same reason that if you get an iPad or you start scaling up your business with other equipment, you're going to need to sign into that same email address, and you don't want all your personal pictures to be then transferred over to these other devices. What I would suggest is you create a separate business-related Apple ID account, right? Once you create a separate Apple ID account, then you make a purchase on the App Store using that separate business account. It makes things a lot easier, and it's not going to transfer a lot of your personal information over to your secondary or your third device. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys, but I could take some questions if it doesn't. So once you get to this point here and you can see whatever you named your phone and you have your business Apple ID account, if you click on subscriptions, you should be able to see all the subscriptions you have currently purchased under that Apple ID. In my case, you see Touchpix here. You see it expired in December of 2021, but I do have a special developer version, so I know my account is valid. Okay, so the reason I'm showing you this is when you make a purchase with the Touchpix app, this is where you're going to have to go manually to go cancel your subscription, right? Touchpix is a subscription-based app, meaning that it's no different from Netflix, no different from Spotify or from Apple Music. Those apps are considered subscription-based. If you buy a weekly subscription, that means you're agreeing to purchase the app weekly, and it's going to charge you every single week unless you put a stop to it, right? So it's your responsibility to know when you're going to put a stop to that, whether it be weekly, monthly, or yearly. You have to come in here and hit stop, and then you can actually use it whenever you want to use it. But just know you have to stop it manually. Okay, that's why I'm showing you where to access the specifics of that account. So if I go over to the Apple App Store, if I'm downloading Touchpix for the first time, I'm going to click this search button here. And I'm just going to type in Touchpix. In my case, mine's already downloaded. You can feel free to download the Touchpix app here. Once you have it, you're going to click open. And this is how the Touchpix app looks when you first download the app. These are the functions that you see. It actually gives you a link to go to the first setup tutorial in the event that you need that. And it'll give you a couple of trial options here. So you can try it as a regular photo booth software, or you could try it as a 360 based software. A little background on Touchpix is Touchpix started as a photo booth software. It incorporated 360 video booth functions. That's what it's been known for lately. For over a year, it's the most popular 360 iOS app out in the market because 1, is very easy to use, 2, is reliable, and 3, it has excellent customer service support. However, you can try any of these for free. They don't charge you to try them. You can try it as long as you want. Just know that your trials will not let you send emails. It won't let you send text messages, and your output will be watermarked, right? But you can try it to see if it's a good fit for you. And we're hoping that if you're really interested, what I'm going to also do is, if you're a first-time Touchpix user and you're very interested in using our app, but you still want to do some trial and error to make sure it's a good fit for you, I'm posting an email in the chat room. You can email support@touchpix.com. If you've never received a free Touchpix trial and you're a brand new user, you can request a 7-day free trial. Before you request a 7-day free trial, you're going to have to register on touchpix.com, and I'll show you how to do that. And you're going to send an email saying, I'd like to try Touchpix for a 7-day free trial. This is my Touchpix email account that I created. That way they know how to activate your account. And please note, as soon as you send that email, it may take a day or so, but that account will be activated quickly, right? So if you don't use it within the 7-day period, then it's going to expire, right? So if you're ready to start using it, then shoot that email out, request it, and you'll get it soon. But if you're not ready to use it, and you're still waiting on your equipment, then don't request it, because then you're not going to get another 7-day free trial. Okay. So this is Touchpix here on the phone. I'm not going to, I'm going to go into subscriptions. I'm going to click on subscriptions here from the app, and it's giving you 3 choices for subscriptions. It's giving you the weekly subscription, which is $49.99. That means that you're going to be able to use this app for as many events as you have booked within that 7-day period. Meaning right now it's about 8:34 on the East Coast. If I were to purchase this app today from this app store at 8:34, it's going to expire next Wednesday at the same time at 8:34. There's no way we can pause it. There's no way we can say, well, I'm going to use 2 days here. I want to pause it and use the remaining 5 days somewhere else. It doesn't work that way. It's 7-day subscription. You can use it anytime within that 7-day. This specific weekly subscription is designed for people that are brand new into the industry. You might not have a lot of bookings. You might not have established clientele. You're still trying to fill in your market area to see how many bookings you get, and you might not get a lot of bookings. So you're going to want to spend probably $49.99 just to get through maybe that singular booking that you have, right? But if you're more of an established photo booth or video booth provider, you may want to look at the monthly subscription here, which is $139. It gives you a little bit of a discount, but you have it a lot longer, right? And again, the same thing applies. If you were to purchase it today at 8:35, 31 days from now or 30 days from now, right? It's gonna auto renew unless you tell it to stop, right? And you'll be able to use it as many events as you want for that specific month. For people that are established and they have drop-off iPad booths or photo booths and also have a 360, they would probably be more inclined to purchase the yearly package because they have a lot more to offer, and the return on their investment is a lot can be achieved a lot quicker but it's $1,000 subscription for the year, right? We are going to be in Las Vegas this coming February in exactly 1 month. We have the big Las Vegas Photo Booth Expo. We will be displaying our 360 booth and software on site. And this professional per year, this doesn't get discounted, but we have one that's located on our website, which I'm going to toggle over to now. Let me see here. I want to toggle over to that specific, see if I can let you guys see that. Okay, I toggled over to touchpix.com. So this is touchpix.com. And if you go over to where it says shop, we have a subscription called white label subscription. That's $1,200. This one here is actually better than the yearly subscription. It allows you to do a little bit more, but it is $1,200 for that ability. But this one for the month of February, towards our expo exhibition dates, we will have this one for $800. So it's going to be a savings. This will be the better subscription to buy. The reason I recommend this subscription over the other subscription is that typically these subscriptions are tied to your Apple ID email account, meaning that all your devices have to have the same Apple ID account for them to work under your subscription. The white label does not. The white label just needs to be created from the primary account, right? And if you have a, maybe a relative that's running your 360 booth in a different county or a different location, and they have an iPhone, all they need is the QR code from your account, and they'll be able to activate it on their phone. Doesn't have to be on the same Apple ID. So this one's it's a little bit more value, and this is the one that's going to be going on sale for $800 at the expo. Okay. In this shop category, we also have a couple other things here. We have optional merchandise, right? Right now, we're out of this trigger box. I'm not going to go into the trigger box right now, but we have these special effects that it's a one-time fee. You do not need to purchase them. But if you consider yourself more an advanced user and want to be able to showcase some extra effects, these are a one-time fee and you can use them as long as you use our software. It adds confetti, splashes, and light leaks. It's just special effects that your software will be able to use if you decide to do it that way. Again, it'll work fine without it. This is just kind of one of those over-the-top features that we offer that's already pre-formatted and pre-made for your software. I'm going to go back to the homepage here for Touchpix. And again, I switched over to the web page. I recommend that if you're using Touchpix for the first time, you use it from a computer, right? Doesn't matter if it's a Windows PC or if you have a Mac. I recommend that you use either or. I do not recommend that you start creating your events from an iPad, right? I would recommend that later once you get familiar with the software. The reason I say that is because computers have a different directory system than iPads, meaning that where you save the file matters. How easy it is for you to navigate through that matters. As you know, some websites are designed for web browsing from a computer, and some websites are designed for web browsing for a mobile device. When it comes time to designing your overlay or your artwork, people have a hard time doing that from an iPad, which is the reason why I don't recommend it in my webinars. You don't need a laptop at your events. You don't need a laptop, to actually create an event. But this is what we recommend, right? Because the way we're trying to show you is that if you create your event from home, whether it be a laptop or a PC, and then you do it ahead of time, you don't need to take the computer with you to an event. Everything would be loaded on your phone. And if you follow my steps, you'll see how easy it is. The reason I say use a computer is because I'm going to minimize these windows here. If you look at my desktop, and I'm hoping you could see my desktop here. Let me see. Yes, we're able to see my desktop. You're going to see on my desktop, I created a folder called Touchpix Files. You can do that from any computer desktop. Again, PC is great. A Windows computer is great. A Mac computer is great. And a Google Chromebook is no good. So I do not recommend.
I know.
So,
yeah, I got it.
let's see here. Yeah, so a Windows Chromebook is not recommended because the Windows Chromebook is like an oversized Android and we don't recommend it to set up these events. Okay, so once you are operating from a computer, I recommend that you make a folder on your desktop and you might want to name it Touchpix Files. The way you make a folder on your desktop for people that don't know is you click anywhere on your desktop, you right click, you go over to new folder, and then you name this folder whatever it is that you want to name it, right? In my case, I named it already. I named it Touchpix Files. In this folder is like anything else. When you're preparing for an event, you're going to want to have everything ready ahead of time, right? If you have a business with a logo, you're going to want to have your logos ready to go. In this case, this is my logo. It's ready to go. I put it in this folder, right? You're also going to want to have music files. Touchpix is capable of using MP3 music, right? I'm going to show you the legal way of MP3 music upload. I'm not going to go into detail of how you can download maybe a radio or a top 40 song because that is considered a copyright protected. Yes, there's users that use it at your discretion. I'm recommending the legal way of saying don't use copyright music because in the long run, you're going to avoid potential lawsuits in the event that your video goes viral and somehow the record label saying, hey, this business is making profit off my work, which is my music. They will come after you. I've seen cases where people have been hit with cease and desist orders by record labels. So, I'm always going to recommend use copyright free music or use music that, that you purchase from some of these royalty free websites. There's a lot of websites. If you go all the way to the top of the chat, I listed a couple of resources, one of them being Bensound, the other one being audiojungle.net. You can explore these websites. They have lots of genres that sound pretty similar. Ultimately, you want something that is a feel-good type sound that sounds very close to the sound that you want to achieve. So in this case, once you get your music, you download your music onto your computer, and you can actually put it in that same Touchpix folder next to your logo, right? In this case, I have my logo, my music file. I'm not a designer, so I'm not very good at designing my own overlays or my artwork. So I always pay somebody to design stuff for me. You don't have to be like me. You can actually design it within the software if you want, or you can pay somebody as well. Typically, when I pay somebody, they'll email me some of the artwork. In this case, they gave me the person's name and they gave me a simple overlay here, which I put in the same folder. That way I'm nice and organized when creating an event and I know where everything's at, right? So for now, I'm going to close this. I'm going to toggle back over to the Touchpix page. And this is a Touchpix page. This is where you're going to live about 80% of the time, right? Once you create an account, you're going to click login, or even if you don't have an account, you're going to click login, right? If you don't have an account, right here to your right, you're going to register. It's very important that you register with the Apple ID email address that you want to use. Under email address, that's the one that you want to use. Whatever you're creating for your business, whatever is going to be tied to your iPhone or your iPads, make sure you register under that Apple ID account. It makes it a lot easier. In this case, this is my login credentials, and I'm going to go ahead and hit login. Once I logged in, now I have choices of what I want to do. This is called your dashboard. It typically has all your events, right? If I were to click events, you're going to see numerous events here that I've done in the past, right? These are all your events. You do not need to delete these. These will live in the Touchpix server for up to a year, meaning that if you have an event and you've executed an event, you will have your own online gallery, and it's going to live up in here for up to a year, right? Meaning that your guests will always have access to this online gallery up to a year. For example, I'm going to click on this old gallery that I have here, right? And you're going to see all my videos for that specific event. Better yet, if I didn't give this gallery to my guests, what I would want to do is click on this link called public URL. and it's going to give them access to my gallery. The way I give them access is once I click public URL, you're given a specific web address up here. All you're going to do is highlight it. You're going to right click, copy it, and you can send it to them by pasting it onto an email or text, right? This is the online gallery that I use. So now the guest can come in here, or my client can come in here, and they could download all the videos by one click of a button right here. If I were to click download, it's going to download all the videos in a zip folder, right? That's how you can deliver your content. If I wanted to view some of this stuff here, I can click on play, and it's like a normal web gallery. This is an old event, and it just kind of gives you an idea how it looks, right?
Your videos are pretty clear, man. I'm trying to get mine like that.
Yeah, so that's a quick little demo that I just kind of showed you guys real quick. Thanks, man. And again, this is called an outro. So I'll show you how to.
What camera did you use for this video?
For this video, I used I believe it was a GoPro 7, I want to say. This was a 7 Black, right? So it comes down to cameras. It comes down to, lighting. Lighting is very important. Never underestimate, lighting. Lighting is key. It's a major component, just like Tia said in the chat. Definitely, it's one of those things that you guys might want to explore and dig in a little deeper with that. But I'm starting this webinar a little different. That way you guys can see the output first before I go and dive into all the settings. But you guys are able to see basically how I access that old gallery. You guys are able to see that if I were to click on events here, let me go to my account again and click on events. I have access to all my events. So now what I want to do is go into the nuts and bolts of Touchpix, right? How do you create an event? So if you look at the tab up here, there's a tab that says create an event. You get two options. One of them says create a custom event, which is the one that I'm going to be focused on. But the second option says create an event from a preset. The create an event from a preset is kind of a cheat code, right? It's designed for people to get up and going within 3 clicks. The reason why I don't like to teach this method is because I want you guys to fully understand how to navigate through the software. If you don't kind of play with the settings, if you don't know how to access the settings, you're going to be lost at some point using Touchpix, right? This is a preset is asking you a set of questions that can fit your needs. Some people use a motorized spinner with the TV as a external screen session. Some people just use a regular spinner. Maybe some people want to use a regular spinner with a slideshow, right? Whatever fits your specific setup, you can click on it, and it's designed for you to click 3 steps and it'll set up the event for you. The reason I don't like to use this setup is because you will have a lot of Touchpix branding on board, and you're going to have a pre-selected song from Touchpix. You're paying Touchpix money. You want to personalize it to the best of your ability. This doesn't mean that you can't go in there and change it, but if you're going through the hassle of creating a preset and having to revert back into the settings to change things, then there's no reason why you just can't start the way I'm about to show you. Create a custom event, right? Because it's walking you through beginning to end. And all Touchpix is, to be honest with you, is this list here. I just click create a custom event. Touchpix is this long form. As long as you pay attention to the features that you want to implement, that's what Touchpix is going to do. So I clicked on create a custom event. Now I'm going to call this event webinar with today's date. My language is going to be English. Country is going to be USA. My countdown, it's important for you to put whatever, if you're outside the US, go ahead and put whatever country you're in. That's going to affect the text messages to a certain degree. So you want to make sure that everything's lining up how it should be when you're setting up your event. Like any other photo booth or video booth, it has a countdown. The countdown just means that it's going to start If I leave it in 4 seconds, that means that once I press start, there's going to be a 4-second countdown before it starts recording, similar to a photo booth before it starts taking pictures, right? So since this is a video booth, I like to set my video countdown to 0, meaning I'm only giving people 2 seconds, before it actually starts recording. Beep sound, right? By the way, if you click on or hover over the question mark, it's going to tell you exactly what that feature is designed to do. Beep sound just gives you an auditory beep after every second once it starts counting down. The mirror overlay preview, you do not want to use that. That's more of a photo booth setting. It just makes it look like your artwork is pictured in with the mirror effect. So it's going to look like reversed or backwards, like if you're staring into a mirror with a, some shirt that has maybe text on it. It's going to look weird, but it doesn't mean that your output's going to be that way. This is for photo booth. Ignore that, leave that box unchecked. The way I'm going to teach this webinar is to make sure that you guys always select your rear camera, even if you're using a GoPro. And I'll explain why as I go through this webinar. I always like to prepare you guys because the GoPro is really, it's an extra step, right? If for people that are using GoPros or going to be using GoPros, essentially you're going to need a GoPro and you're still going to need either an iPad to control the GoPro or an iPhone, right? But aside from that, more than likely, you're still going to require a separate iPad as a sharing station. So you're going to need 2 devices. The reason is that the GoPro is controlled by the iOS device, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone, because the app is going to process that video file, and then that video file needs to be shared. You can't share it with one single iPad for the reason that the way the iPad or the iPhone connect to the GoPro, they connect to each other via their internal Wi-Fi. Meaning that internal Wi-Fi connects to the GoPro, but that Wi-Fi doesn't have access to internet as well. It's not like a shareable Wi-Fi. So you're still going to need 2 devices. Whatever it is that you're using, we recommend 2 devices. So in this webinar, if you click use rear camera, because that's what we recommend always, the rear camera of your iPhone is always a much superior camera than the front camera. So I show you how to do it this way too, because people who are using GoPros, a lot of people make the mistake of using the built-in battery with the GoPro. About 95% of the industry doesn't do it that way. 95% of the industry, they remove the battery from the GoPro and they power the GoPro via USB cable and a small battery pack. Something small, like something that you would use to charge your cell phone. That's typically tied onto the 360 arm somehow, whether it's like a sock or of some sort or Velcro. That's recommended. The reason that's recommended is because GoPros tend, and this goes from the early GoPros to the very latest one, they tend to overheat when they're left on for numerous hours, right? So we always recommend to use an external battery and not use the inside battery for the GoPro, because you're recording at a high frame rate and the GoPro's always on and they tend to overheat. If you use an external battery pack, you don't have that overheating issue. So that is a kind of a pro tip. So once you select the rear camera, you're going to see this printing option, because like I said, Touchpix is primarily was primarily a photo booth option or photo booth software. And for the 360 video, we're not worried about printing. So we're going to put printing to no printing. That's where we're going to leave that setting. As far as functions, this is what Touchpix is capable of doing. It's capable of doing photos, boomerangs, GIFs like a normal photo booth, and it does videos for people who do video booths specifically for weddings. They have like what's called a video confession booth, where guests sometimes tell the bride and groom, thank you for inviting us to your beautiful wedding. And then they do a compilation of those videos. We're not interested in any of these features today. We're only interested in slow-mo. So just leave slow-mo checked off, right? As I scroll down the list, it's giving me the slow-mo recording time. As you can see, by default, the slow-mo recording time is set to 4.5 seconds, right? That'll generate about a 14-second video if you enable the boomerang, the slow-mo boomerang. What the slow-mo boomerang is once it's done recording and it processes the video and it adds the slow motion, At the very end of the video, the slow-mo boomerang makes the video play in reverse at the very end. So it extends the video, right? So this is a very good feature. Typically, I tell people to leave your slow-mo recording time at about 5 seconds. I'm going to do 5.2. Play around with this so you can find the best length of video for you. Your videos probably shouldn't be longer than 30 seconds total. So, you definitely want something quick, easy, shareable, but play with the number and see what best fits your needs, right? So I'm going to leave it at 5.2 today. I'm going to enable slow-mo boomerang. And this is the option here where you have where to add your music file. As you can see, it says add audio file. As soon as I click choose file, I'm going to want to point it over. Technically, initially, it goes over to my desktop. And from my desktop, I have to tell it I want it to focus on the Touchpix folder. Once I set it to the Touchpix folder, it's going to stay there throughout the process. So it's going to open up in that same location all the time. And that's beneficial as you're adding to your event, right? And in this case, I'm going to add this track here called trap music, right? I'm going to hit open. Once I add it, you're going to see that it loaded here because it has the same song right here, trap MP3, right? I'm going to scroll down and screen flash. This is a photo booth feature. I'm not worried about it. Leave that unchecked. You do not need it for 360. And these are the timeouts. So the timeouts, these represent the number of seconds. Typically when you're doing photo booth and you're sharing, the editing typically allows you to put like props on the photos. So you're not worried about any of this with the exception of sharing. So once you get to editing, you're gonna wanna put that number to 0. The thank you screen, you wanna put it to 0. The prop screen, you're gonna wanna put it to 0. The only thing you're going to leave at default is sharing. You want to allow up to 12 seconds for people to share their files. Make sure that you leave this at 12. Anywhere between 6 and 12 is fine. All these other options are not necessary for 360 video recording. As I scroll down, these are the methods that are available to share in Touchpix. The popular ones are email. I don't like to use Facebook. WhatsApp is good because there's a lot of people now that are coming from different parts of the country, and this gives them a good option in the event that you may have like an international client and they have a WhatsApp. This makes it real easy for them to share. SMS stands for regular, it's for regular text messaging, right? Via your cell phone carrier. I don't use Twitter. I don't use copy. And I'll definitely leave everything else checked off. Download, I'm going to explain to you what that is. AirDrop is the sharing protocol from iPhones or iPads only. If your guests don't have iPhones and they have Androids, you might want to use QR code to share via QR code, or you might want to leave the general tab open to share it via a different method. It gives you numerous ways of sharing your files. The reason why I don't use Facebook and Twitter to begin with is because I would have to allow the customers to log in with their entire Facebook email address and password. A lot of people don't memorize those, so those are not viable options for me to use. And copy, you don't want copy, but download is important for the sake of this. Typically, when you're sharing a file via text message, you're not actually sharing the actual video file, right? So what you're sharing is a hyperlink. Touchpix is a cloud-based app that as soon as the video is done, if you have great internet service or great cell reception, the file uploads into the cloud and the cloud creates a link. So what you're sending, or what the client is sending themselves, or the guest is sending themselves, is a text message with a link. And once they click on the link, if you're using an iPhone, it automatically opens your Safari web browser. So the Safari web browser is very notorious for not allowing you to do certain things. So if you're going to be using text message or even email, I always recommend you click on download, because what download does is as soon as your guests get that hyperlink, right, that arrives on their phone, if they click on that link, it opens up Safari, but Safari web browser will have a download button on there, right? If you forget to enable this, they will not be able to download their file without this being checked off. So get in the habit of always leaving download in there, right?
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I had an event the other day, and one of the person who used the booth, they had an Android phone, and they were unable to download their actual video to their phone. Do you know why that might have been?
Yeah, so it could be numerous things. One of the reasons could be always check your internet speed. If you have an internet speed that has a pretty decent upload speed, and I'm going to go into that shortly, that is always a good start. First of all, when you're starting an event, I would start with how fast your internet is to make sure that you are able to download content. Second thing too, not knowing what your client had. Sometimes I have people that, in my events that have this old antiquated Android phone. For whatever reason, some of these Android phones has given us problems in the sense of they won't scan a QR code or they won't download, right? This is why Touchpix gives you so many different ways to share your file. So if they had an Android phone and they weren't able to download, I will always revert to text first, right? Send themselves a text message and they should be able to get that video link and download immediately. Secondary, I would try email if you have email checked off, right? And as a third option, try the QR code. But I know older Android phones are not capable of QR code reading. So it just really depends on what your client had. But if you even need a fourth option, this general tab will give you a different way to share it via, depending on what device or what you have enabled on that phone. It can do iMessage, it can do via like Instagram if you have like a generic Instagram account loaded onto your sharing station. So we give you about 3, 4, or 5 different ways of sharing it. Without getting into specific details, I don't know what your client had or what your guest had, but I would suggest you move on from if it was QR code that wasn't working, move on to SMS text. If that doesn't work, move on to email. But you shouldn't be running into an issue where you're not able to share it at all.
Sorry, but then the quality via text isn't that great. So would you just say sending it to email would be better?
No, that's incorrect. So the quality of the text shouldn't matter, right? Unless they have, let me rephrase that. The quality of the text is not going to matter because like I explained earlier, you're not getting the text message video, you're getting a hyperlink. That hyperlink is to our server, to the cloud server. That cloud server has the best quality output. So texting doesn't affect, the quality of the video. So the only time I've seen it affected is for people, unfortunately, that are using T-Mobile or Boost Mobile to use a specific network. And it doesn't affect the download, but it affects the video playback. Once you're doing the video playback on those devices using cell signal, those two or that cell service provider is notorious for that. So, but having the hyperlink, I assure you, it doesn't change the quality whatsoever. Hope that made sense for you. So if you guys have any other questions regarding the sharing methods, like I explained, we give you about 5 different methods to share. If you're having difficulty with one option, always revert to the second option. But also from our experience, from what we've found, and I work the support line myself, T-Mobile seems to be very notorious for appearing like when you're doing a video playback from your device under your cell signal, it looks like it's pixelated, but it's not the file. Make sure you download the file onto your device first and then do the playback from there first. Because if you're playing it straight off the web server, it's going to appear like it's pixelated or it's degraded quality. But I assure you the texting option does not degrade the quality one bit. The other portion here is edit screen. The edit screen, like I said, if you hover over it, it's going to show you how to draw effects onto, it's designed for the photo booth if you want to add props. So we're going to leave this checked off. This is not necessary here. The very important option that is absolutely necessary is the in-app gallery. This is going to control your sharing station, and this controls how you share. So it's very important that you leave this checked on. As we scroll down, this is the part where you can brand it. Depending on what you checked up off the top of this list, this is where you can rename it and use your company name here, right? So when the guest gets the email or when they get the text message, you can alter this message to reflect your business name. We've noticed that using special characters such as the @ or the pound sign, you know, our provider, which is Twilio, sometimes red flags some of these. So we recommend you get creative with, you know, putting in your website. As far as phone numbers, it works great with phone numbers, but don't include the little, what is it, the little hashtags or the little, the special characters. So if I was to put a number like 555 and you put the dash, leave off the dash, just put the numbers themselves and you should be fine, right? The special characters is what sometimes gets flagged by our provider. So just make sure you simplify it. And the way I do these 4 boxes is I put the same message on the 4 boxes that are identical. There's no reason why you should be putting separate messages on each option. Keep it uniform. It makes it a lot easier for you to do, right? As we scroll down, we're going to hit the props section. Again, this is not photo booth, so we're going to leave it at no props. The app name, this is where you're going to put your business. In my case, you could put XYZ photo booth or whatever or XYZ 360, whatever your company may be, you can input the name there. This is pretty important, this branding section. So these give you options to brand your setup, whether it be your iPad, whether it be your iPhone controlling the 360. You're able to put logos into Touchpix to customize it and brand it as your own, right? That way it just doesn't say Touchpix. If you look at some of the parameters here, it tells you it accepts PNG or JPEG files. In this case, they should not exceed over 4 megabytes. The difference between a PNG file and a JPEG, right? A PNG file is a transparent file. It means there's nothing behind that file. It's just a logo that's hovering with no background color, right? If you were to use a JPEG, typically JPEGs do have a background of some sort. So it'll be your logo with either a color, you know, whatever color it's designed on, whether it has a white background or a black background. I tend to use PNG files a lot because they're easy to work with. And you don't have to worry about, you know, wondering if you uploaded the wrong file, right? So in my case, I use for app logo, if you were to load something under app logo, you will find this logo on your sharing station. And also if you activate an Apple TV, it's going to show up on your Apple TV, right? The Apple TV is optional, but if you were to upload a logo here, I'm just letting you know that's where they're going to show up. As far as the app background, whatever logo you put here, it's going to show up behind the Touchpix controls. Typically, you have a control center that says either slow motion or slow-mo. It has your gallery button or your menu button. It'll just have your logo behind those controls. It's a way to brand your specific event. The web gallery, if you guys paid attention to my web gallery that I just showed you, I'm going to toggle back to it now. Let me see if I can go back in there. This is my web gallery. This is what you give the client. It has my logo in the background and it has my logo right up here. So I'm just showing you whatever file you use for web gallery, that's where it's going to appear, right, in the branding. The attract screen, I'm not going to go into too much detail with the attract screen, but I'm going to explain what it is. The attract screen just means that it's an attract screen. It means that when your photo booth or your video booth is not being used, right? Maybe you're at a wedding and they're doing, you know, the toast, or they're doing cake cutting. There's a pause in your event. Whatever file you throw in here, which could be a video file, an MP4, a picture file, or whatever you want to load, right? When the video booth is not being used, it almost goes into a screensaver mode. That screensaver mode is meant to attract attention back to that specific video booth. So people will say, oh, what's that? If it's something moving or animated, They can see maybe a picture of the bride and groom. It just adds more attention. You don't need it, but if you want to use that option, it's available for you. The way you exit off the attract screen is you just tap on the screen and it reverts back to the normal settings. It's just an extra step to personalize your video booth. So if you pay attention here to the app logo, I'm going to click choose file. And once I hit choose file, you're going to see that my folder automatically opens up now because I pointed it in that right direction when I loaded my MP3 file. So now I'm looking for logos. I technically use the same logo in all 3 locations, the same exact logo. So I'll be using this Touchpix logo here. As you can see, it's a PNG file. I'm hovering over that logo so you can actually see the dimensions. It's 2100 by 1500 pixels. I recommend you keep it anywhere between 2500 by 2500 and you'll be fine. The size is in kilobytes, so it's super small. It definitely fits the criteria. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this logo here and click open. Same thing for the app background. I'm going to click choose file. I'm going to use the same exact logo and click open. And for the web gallery, I'm going to do the same exact thing and click open. I use the same file in all 3 locations. I keep everything very consistent. That way you guys, you guys don't get confused on what goes where and why do I want to change it, right? But if you guys want to get creative, and you guys definitely can switch it up. The text and button color, right? So for example, right now I'm using PNG files that are transparent. If I were to use a JPEG, right, and maybe that Touchpix logo wasn't transparent, it had a white background, right? I wouldn't want my buttons or my text to also be white, right? I would want to change it because you wouldn't be able to see the text or the buttons, right? So in the event that that happens, you can click on this text and button square and you can change your button colors and your text to reflect a different color of your choice, right? You can move it around. And in my case, I'm going to leave it at, let's use a green, right? Let's use a green, just so that way you guys can see the difference in that. So I left it at green. I loaded my logos, right? And now I'm scrolling down the list. So now I'm at that trigger section. I'm going to explain what the trigger does, right? A lot of people like to use this. A lot of people don't. It's more of a personal preference, but I'm going to explain to you what this is. Typically, a lot of people have automatic spinners, meaning a spinner that's operated by a motor and a remote control. A lot of people don't like to touch the phone to start a session. If you enable the motion trigger for people that are using iPhones, right? If you enable the motion trigger, your iPhone has a built-in GPS system built in. The way it works with the app is as soon as you hit start on your remote from your automatic spinner, the app is going to detect movement from that GPS on that phone or the iPad or whatever you're using, right? And it's going to start recording, or it's going to start a session. So it's a way of just hitting start and letting it do its thing and record, right? You have that option to use the motion trigger if you want. In this case, for this tutorial, I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to disable it, but that option is there, right? We're finally at the end of the list. And this is where the external screen comes into play. This is completely optional. You do not need to use this. Touchpix works fine without it. But in the event that you may want to upsell and make some extra money, this is a great way to do it. External session does require 2 things. It requires either an Apple TV, right, for it to work, or if you're just going to do a video slideshow, maybe for your iPad, you don't need an Apple TV. You can use like a HDMI dongle over to your iPad. You could hardwire it to your TV, and that's a way of using external session without the Apple TV. But if you want to do if you want to do live view recording from your iPhone, then I would suggest going the Apple TV route because it's wireless and it looks clean. But you can use it two different ways: hardwired or with an Apple TV. People ask, well, what's an Apple TV? An Apple TV is basically an Apple box. It's similar to your Fire Stick or similar to a Google Chromecast. You just plug it in via HDMI and power onto a TV, and it works with our software to mirror each other for live view recording or slideshows, right? It uses a specialized system that we incorporated because it's communicating from Apple device to Apple device, which is the reason why we recommend an Apple TV. If you do want to purchase one, we recommend the 4th generation or a 5th generation Apple TV, right? Those seem to work really good. And those are the 2 that we recommend. I'm going to show you how one looks, and that way you guys can see a good example of kind of how that's enabled. I'm going to go ahead and click enabled. I'm going to use an Apple TV with the external session, right? And I'm also going to use the QR carousel and the live view. So what this means is once I do a recording, it's going to record live view recording, right, with the Apple TV. Meaning that when you hit start and it starts recording, people can actually see themselves being recorded on the TV. And as soon as they're done with the session, as soon as they jump off the spinner and the video is done processing, it'll do a video playback onto that screen. And it'll also it'll also provide a QR code if you have it connected to Wi-Fi underneath that video. So now instead of people going over to the sharing station, they can scan the QR code from the TV and download it onto their device immediately, right? So the disclaimer for this is it doesn't keep track of every single video, right? So if a person jumps onto the spinner, forgets to retrieve their QR code from the TV, they can't come back an hour later and say, hey, I forgot to get my video. Can you pull up that QR code on the TV? Doesn't work that way. It only displays the most recent QR code. I think it goes back four sessions. So you'll be able to get the last 4 sessions done, right? If they don't have it then, they have to go over to the sharing station and find it and share it to themselves, right? So we do have a brand new development that just came out. It's still being tested, but for people that are using GoPros, I believe the Touchpix team finally is able to do a live view recording from a GoPro. So that's a big development that hasn't been out. We're doing some finalized testing on that before I think it gets released. And hopefully everything looks good and will be presented shortly, hopefully, or before our expo, or maybe during our photo booth expo in Las Vegas. Typically for the GoPro users, you weren't able to do that. You would have to toggle this screen to go to the slideshow, and you'd be able to do a slideshow preview of every session, right? That would be the go-to. So it's good to see that the Touchpix team is still implementing new developments and always enhancing what the app offers, right? For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to click external session, and then I'm going to click submit, right? Because I'm done filling out that form. I know it took a while to fill out that form because I explained it step by step, but honestly, if it's your first time using it, it shouldn't take you over 15 minutes to go ahead and fill that out. Once you get really comfortable with it, trust me, it'll take you less than 5 minutes to prepare an event once you're prepared, right? Before I scan this with my phone, I still got to design the artwork. So I'm going to click on designer right above it. Once I'm on the designer, right? Once I'm on the designer, if you toggle to your left, you're going to see some tabs here to your left. One of them says templates, right? First of all, make sure that the drop-down menu stays on slow-mo overlays. I explained that this is also a photo booth software, but we're focused on the overlays for slow motion. It needs to be on slow-mo overlays. Touchpix lets you use 5 different overlays, right? Option 1 is a more vertical style overlay, right? This is for the iPhones, and for the iPhones, but if you're using an iPhone, your phone needs to be positioned vertically, meaning that the camera needs to be on the top or the bottom, however you want to position that device, right? So know that if you're using slow-mo 1 and 5, because 5 is also a cropped out version of template 1, you're going to want to position your device in the vertical format. Now, template 2, 3, and 4, they have more of a landscape or wide angle view. These are best sometimes if used with the phone position sideways in landscape position, right? So the most popular one is template 2 because it's a square. If I click on template 2, you can see the silhouette and it's a perfect square. This is very social media friendly. This is why it's popular. But template 3 is also a good option. It gives you a wider angle view. It's not as zoomed in, right? And template 4 is extremely wide angle view. but you play with whatever is a good fit for you. I typically like to show template 2, right? It's a square template, right? And if you want to design it within the app, you could go here to the left and click on stickers. These have a bunch of options or clip art that you can use. If you're a designer or you want to learn how to design, you can always use any of these for free. These are included with the software. It has a bunch of just clip arts that you can use, and you can alter it to a certain degree, right? If you want to create a border, if you want to create just a different look, right? You can use any of these and go from there. Let's see what I could pull here. Like I said, just kind of bear with me because I'm not a designer. I usually pay a designer to do our work, but you know, our Touchpix user group has a lot of freelance designers that are great. They're a great resource. And if you're somebody that's not good with design, you might want to just pay somebody to do it for you. A lot of people are affordable. You just kind of negotiate with them and figure out what you guys can come up with. But for this specific one, let's use, for example, let's
I have
just
a
use
quick
this. Go
question
ahead.
for yeah. So in past meetings, you mentioned that using slow-mo overlay 2 is good for Instagram. However, it's not like obviously people want to post reels, but I find that using my iPhone 11 that it's not actually taking up the full like the full camera. There's a border, there's a black border on top and at the bottom of the actual image itself. Is there
So if
any
so if you're using, are you using it for reels or normal post?
no for reels?
Yeah, so for reels, we recommend reels is somewhat of a newer concept. So if you're going to be posting reels, I would recommend use template 1. Template 1 is more designed for reels. It has the vertical look that a lot of people use for reels. But if you're just doing regular Instagram posts, not reel specific, uh, I would use template 2 because to do Instagram posts it's typically a square post, and you can post numerous different videos without having to extend them or zoom into them. That way they're all the same. But yeah, reels are a little different. You know, they're more of a vertical template. So I would go with template 1 for if you're just solely posting the reels.
Okay, overlay 1, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. Following up on that, what would you suggest if you're doing both Rails and regular posts?
Yeah,
Would it
so
be
that's
overlay 3?
no, because the reels are more of a portrait style format, right? I would say probably stick with overlay 2. That'd probably be your best bet to get in between any of those. But just be mindful that, you know, if you're gonna do reels, it's more of a portrait format. So you're gonna experience the top and lower black bars, right? But if you were to use anything else like overlay 3 or template 3, then they're gonna be looking a little off for that specific application for both. Yeah, now look,
Thank
I
you.
think Tia also answered that on the chat. So thanks, Tia. She said template 2 will
Thank you,
work for
Tia.
that. So yeah, so in this case, let me go back. I'm going to use this flower here, right, from the clip art. I'm going to click on the flower. Once you click on any of this clip art, it bounces over to your screen. You can drag it. If you drag any of these corners, you could enlarge it. You can actually, if you drag the middle, you can actually spin it, right? If you don't like this color there, you can play with the settings up here with the hue and saturation to get a color that probably fits your needs or whatever you feel, you know, will look good for your specific application, right? Let's go maybe with something like that. And opacity is just more of a transparency, right? But if I wanted to create like a border of that, I'd hit duplicate and then I'd get the same size file, and I could keep on hitting duplicate and just kind of create a border. I'm not a designer, but I'm just giving you ideas of what you can do with Touchpix, right? I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And if you want to add text, you can navigate to the left here and click text. And if you click on the word large text, you're going to see it bounce onto your screen, drag it down, stretch out the box a little bit, go over to the left-hand side on the settings, you'll see the font size in numerical value. You can hit the up arrow and it'll enlarge your text. Maybe you want to change your text color. You can always change the color of your text to maybe like a red, right? And maybe you want to change the font. You can actually drop down and look for a font that fits your needs, right? And if you want to write something in here, you're going to double click in the box, right? And I'm going to delete the large text and put slow motion 360, right? And then you can position it wherever it is that you want to position it, right? You can position it and you can drag it if you want. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. I sometimes like to use this little enable grid, right? And it helps you center your text. That way it doesn't look like it's not centered. And then you can just deselect. When you're ready to go, what you do is you then hit add template, right? Say you want to add a logo before you hit add template, and you can go over here where it says upload, right? I'm going to add a logo as a sticker. I'm going to add the Touchpix logo here. I'm going to hit open. Now I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, because when you add something from your directory, it appears on the very top. I'm going to click on the Touchpix logo here. It pops up to my screen, and I can make it smaller or bigger, and I could add it on the template wherever it is I want to add it, right? So now say I want to add a custom overlay that somebody designed for me. I'm going to go ahead and delete the text real quick. If I want to add a custom overlay, I'm going to go to uploads again, and I'm going to go here where it says custom overlay. If you hover on the question mark, it'll give you all the template sizes. So if you are using somebody to design your artwork, these are the sizes that you need, right? Template 1, template 2, template 3, and 4, and 5, right? Gives you the specific sizes in pixels. I'm using template 2, so it means that I have 1072 to 1072 to work with pixel-wise, right? Once the designer designs the artwork for me in that specification, I'll save it on my computer on my folder, and then I'm going to click Browse for custom overlay. Again, it opens up my Touchpix files. This is what I mean about organization. And I'm just going to click on this simple border that somebody created for me, and I'm going to hit Open. It's going to pop up here on your lower left-hand side. Then you're going to click on it, and it applies it over to your specific artwork here. Now I can see that this Touchpix logo is not looking good there. Maybe I'll reposition that, right? So this is all it is. It's just a border that I had somebody design. In addition to that, sorry, real quick. Give me one quick second. Apologize.
And everybody, I'm Charles, by the way. I just want to say hi. I kind of want to say one thing. With DJ1 just added the overlay under upload, it shows a little picture on your bottom left part of the screen under gallery. 9 out of 10 times, if your overlay is not showing on your event, you forgot to click that and actually add it to your overlay spot over your actual picture. So make sure you're clicking that to actually add it, and you can see it over the little Waldo guy on the screen.
Cool. Thanks, Charles, for chiming in. Yeah, I hope you guys caught that, right? So what he means by that is I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to hit uploads. You see how it pops up right here? You have to click on it, right? I'm going to go ahead and delete it first of all, and see how it deleted. Once you do a custom overlay and then you click on it again, make sure that you click on this. That way it pops up on your main screen, right? And that's how you add that. In my case, what I did also is sometimes I have my designers design some overlays that I can reuse. So I have them design like the border, send me the file, and then send me the name of the person separate. That's a good way to be cost effective sometimes. And I'm going to click on custom sticker. I'm going to click browse, and they send me the person's name as a PNG file, right? And I'm going to hit open. I'm doing this as a sticker. So I'm going to click on the person's name up here. It pops up to my screen here, and I could resize a person's name, right? And reposition it wherever I want to reposition, right? I'm going to use the enable grid and go in that route there. and disable the grid, and I'm good to go. I could hit add template. If I hit add template, it's going to add it. I'm not going to add it because I want to show you guys some of the animated features that this app is capable of doing. So I'm going to I'm going to delete all of this right now, but that's how you actually add your artwork. I'm going to delete most of this now. I'm going to go over to uploads and take this off. And I'm also going to go here with stickers and take this off. So what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to add a blank overlay because I want the software to understand that I'm still using template number 2, and I'm going to add a blank overlay. So I'm going to hit add template. It turns mustard and it turns green. It says template added. So I'm ready to go now. So I'm going to click on events. And from events, now I'm going to go over, if you pay attention, this is the webinar that we're doing now. It says test because we haven't activated. And I'm going to go where it says QR code, right? And I'm going to toggle over to my, here we go. Let me see if you guys can see this real quick. Okay. So you guys can see my iPhone, right? So now I'm going to go back. I'm back into Touchpix for my iPhone. I'm going to click on Touchpix. This is what you'll see. When you're ready and you bought the subscription and you're ready to go, you're going to click on Activate Event, right? So once you click on Activate Event, again, this is my iPhone on the right-hand side. You're given an option. You're given an option if you want to activate this event as a test, as a sharing station, right? And as a active event, right? In this case, because I have a valid subscription, you can actually test it if you want to test it. And if you're running a sharing station, then activate it as a sharing station. But if you're ready to roll to go to your event, always activate it at home before you're showing up to your event. It's just good practice to be ready in the event that you go over to wherever venue you're at and they have poor Wi-Fi and you're not able to scan into it. Don't put yourself in that situation. Just do it from home. It's not going to hurt to activate your event before you show up to your live paid gig. So I'm going to click activate, and then it goes over to the QR code scan. It scans the QR code, and now it's setting up the event. And there it is.
Do y'all have a webinar for photo booths?
No, but that's something that we can definitely work on. I might have something that I did on a one-on-one with another client, and I may be able to share that with you. Just shoot us an email. I'm going to put the email on the chat, and I could probably shoot you a link. But if you need a little bit more assistance, then just reach out. We can schedule something.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so as you can see, my Touchpix is loaded. I'm holding the phone vertically now. That's why it looks a little weird. But if I hold it sideways landscape mode, it looks a little bit better. You can see the green, how I changed the buttons to green. It makes a little bit more sense that way, right? So I'm basically ready to go. So once you're at this step, what I would recommend you do is, we have this little hamburger icon. I'm now going to focus on the iPhone. This hamburger icon is basically your settings tab, right? Or your menu. We're going to tap on settings. First and foremost, make sure that once you tap on settings, go over to compress and make sure that this is set to UHQ. This stands for ultra high quality. This is the best, the highest quality that we can record under, okay? Once you have it to ultra high quality, go up here to the arrow next to session, toggle your arrow to the right, right? And toggle it again to where it says camera, right? For people that are using iPhones or GoPro, just follow along. I'll show you where you need to make that transition if you're using a GoPro. But for now, I want you guys to be prepared in the event that, you know, your USB cable from your GoPro goes down or your battery dies and you're having GoPro issues. I want you guys to be prepared on how to quickly pivot over to your iPhone and finish your event without a hitch, right? So for now, make sure that your camera is set to back, right? And you're going to want to toggle down here Auto face exposure is fine, or you can do auto exposure, whatever you feel is the best fit for your environment. As we go down, you're going to want to click on slow-mo speed right here. So your slow-mo speed should reflect the following. The setting should be to 1920 by 1080 at 120 frames per second. Okay. And you're going to click on done.
Does it matter if you choose the slow-mo speed?
I would choose the first
First one?
one out of these two that are identical.
Thank
Choose the first one. Yeah. After you do that, the second step would be your lens type. Click on lens type, and if you're using a recommended device like the iPhone 11, 12, or 13, you will see a setting that says ultra wide. So set your lens setting to ultra wide. If you're using an older iPhone or an iPad, you're not going to see ultra wide. All you're going to get is wide. Some of your shots may look zoomed in if you're using them as a primary recording device, but try to select ultra wide if you have that option available. Okay. It's going to give you a quick warning. Just hit understood. Okay, so now we're going to toggle over to the right again from the camera option. And this is the area that's pretty important that everybody should know about this area. This is kind of the bread and butter of the software, right? So Touchpix right now allows you 3 effects. One of them is already the audio file that we uploaded from the web interface, right? I'm actually going to delete this audio file, and I'm going to show you how to use free music that Touchpix gives you already in the event that you haven't learned how to grab your MP3s. I'm going to click on this audio tab, and I'm going to click delete, right? And if I want to use the free music that Touchpix is providing, I'm going to go over to where it says add effect. And this list pops up here at the bottom. I'm going to scroll down to where it says music, right? There it is, music. I'm going to hit done. Then I'm going to click on the music tab in the gray box. And typically it's going to ask you to download some files. In my case, the files were already downloaded, and Touchpix is giving you 14 different tracks, right? You can listen to them. There are little upbeat tracks that kind of go with slow motion type settings. Go through them and see what best fits your needs. These are free. These are great starter packs for you to just get up and go doing any event. I'm going to use music track 1, right? It's selected. Or a second option that I'm going to show you is maybe you want to upload a music track from your phone, right? This is kind of more of a moderate to advanced type of feature. I'm going to click on music real quick, and I'm going to hit delete, right? So now I have a blank screen again. I'm going to now go to where it says add effect, and I'm going to go to where it says audio. Hit done. I'm now going to click on audio, and now it's asking me to choose a file and make sure it's an MP3. This is a file that hopefully once you have it ready, it's saved onto your phone. Somewhere on your phone, you got to know where it's at. So I'm going to click choose file, right? And I'm going to look for an MP3 song. And I see one right here from Ben Sound, one of the recommended sites. And I'm going to click on that file, and it's loaded already. So I have this track loaded onto that audio. So in essence, Touchpix is giving you 3 options. You can either load the song from the web interface. That's one option, the most easy option. Option 2, load a free song that Touchpix gives you under the music tab, right? Or option 3, load up an audio track that you already have on your phone. That needs to be an MP3 file. So you have 3 different ways of loading up audios, okay? So I still have room for 2 more effects, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit add effect. And one of the popular effects that I'm going to use is probably, I'll use the collage effect, right? And I selected the collage effect. Every time you select an effect, you're going to want to press on that effect. Once you press on that specific effect on the gray box, you're given this music timeline right here. This music timeline represents your video, right? I don't want the collage effect to be applied on my entire video. I only want this effect to be applied. For example, I'm going to move this first dot I'm going to move it all the way to 0.7, and then I'm going to move the second dot to 0.9. I only want this collage effect to be applied in this section of this entire video, right? So that's what I'm telling the software to do. And I'm going to add my third effect now. My third effect, I'm going to hit add effect, and I'm going to add an animated overlay, right? Because it also takes artwork that has movement. And I think it's called, in this case, it's called overlay alpha, right? Overlay alpha, this is done by specific designers, but you can find them in our Touchpix user group. I'm going to click OK, done. Now I'm going to click on overlay alpha, and it's telling me to choose the file. And in this case, it needs to be an MOV file or an MP4 file. I'm going to click choose file. Just see what it gives me here. As you can tell, you can pick the file. If you save it onto your phone, it'll be on your phone. I use Dropbox for a lot of my stuff. You can also use Google Drive. In my case, I'm going to see if I have something on my actual phone, and I do. My animated overlay is right here. It's called animated overlay. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And now I see that it's loaded, right? So now, before I even show you a test, I'm going to show you, this is another popular feature here, this post roll. As you guys saw my demo video, I had a promo video at the end of the video that highlighted my business. This is where you load the promo video. Just know that it needs to be an MP4 file or an MOV file. But the most important thing you got to know about this promo video is, if, for example, I'm using template 2, whoever designs your promo video, they need to make it the same size as template 2 if you're using template 2, which is 1072 by 1072. If you're doing template 1, the promo video needs to be sized the same size as template 1. That way it matches, or else it's going to look a little off and it's not going to look as fluid. So once you have your promo video, you press this button here. It's called post roll, and it's asking you where do you have that video saved. In my case, it's going to be under files, and I believe for me it's going to be located under my Dropbox probably. Or let's see if I could use something else here. I'm going to use something else here just as an example. I'm going to use this file that Claymore kind of gave me. So I'm going to just use that here. And it's just a sample. Just, pretend that the last slide is a slide from, highlighting your business. Once it's loaded, now you can go ahead and hit go back. And we're going to do a quick test right now, right? And if it disconnects, I'll show you. I typically have issues screen mirroring an actual video recording, but I'll show you how it looks. So I'm going to hit record. I'm actually in my little man cave here, and let's see how it looks. Let me see. Let me turn on a couple lights here just to see if I can get a better output than I typically do. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to hit record. There's my live view, right? And here I'm going to I'm here in my office chair here. So this is typically where I have issues with showing you guys, because it typically freezes here.
Were you actually spinning around in your chair?
I was.
Okay, wow.
It's the whole 360 effect, man. Come on. Here we go.
I'm learning so much.
Here we go. I'm hoping it doesn't freeze on you guys here, but oh, it did. Okay. Let me try it one more time here. It just, my video recording with video, it demands a lot of bandwidth. So let's do it again. Here we go. You could always stop the recording here by pressing stop and restart. You don't have to wait for the whole thing typically. So there's a file that it's not liking, and I'm guaranteeing you that it's going to be the outro file. Let's figure this out. So, because I've never used that outro file before, so I'm going to hit delete post roll. Let me see if I can select a different one.
Yeah, I saw it say blending videos. That was a new
yeah, so
thing
the blended videos is because I'm using an animated overlay. So if you're using overlay alpha, you're going to get the blended videos prompt all the time. So
Oh,
let's,
gotcha.
yeah, so let's let me pick the correct file, and hopefully it'll do it this time. It's just I've never used here we go. Sorry, I have my stuff a little scattered. Here we go. I'm using a separate file. So now hopefully I can actually show you guys how it looks like. Here we go again. See, a lot of people typically would have panicked and said, oh, my app's crashing. But I already knew that file was probably not a good file for me to use. So I use a separate file. And it's gonna, that's the video playback here.
And I kind of want to jump in for a second. So kind of you guys remember, like, as you're practicing and as you're playing with things, you know, do this as much as possible. And you'll kind of know what triggers things if you have a bad file, bad music file, and you'll also know what to change so that when you get to your event, you're not flustered. What we want you to do is really understand what you're doing before you get to your event.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about that? It looks pretty cool, right? You know, and I
Pretty
think
cool.
a lot.
What,
Yeah, so
what,
yeah.
what
So
phone did you use? Sorry.
this is an iPhone 12. This is an iPhone
Okay.
12. Yeah, so what makes it even, you know, pretty cool, and what you guys are able to do also is now, see that? You guys are able to scan that now from your homes. And you give it a shot. So scan it from your homes, and you guys should be able to get that video file that I just did as a demo, right? Let me know when you guys are done scanning it, and then I'm going to show you how to connect the sharing station and then Apple TV, and I'll open it up for questions, and we're good to go. Were you guys pretty successful at downloading that via QR code? Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and switch. I'm going to switch cameras here because I want to show you guys how to sync the Apple TV and the sharing station. So let's go over to my main camera. Okay. So, okay, hopefully you guys are able to see that without that much glare. Let me turn off a set of lights here. That's why I like to work in dim settings sometimes. Okay, that might be a little bit better. You guys won't see the glare. Okay, so here we go. So what I did now is I have my iPhone right here, which I'm using for this illustration. And this is my iPad, which I already scanned the same QR code on the iPad. The key difference is when I scanned it under sharing station mode instead of active event, right? Because my iPad's only going to be used for a sharing station, right? So I scanned the same QR code onto my iPad, and this is the iPhone. So what I recommend people do with their iPads once they scan is, first of all, go into the general settings of your iPad, right? And once you go into general, go over to airdrop. Make sure airdrop is set to everyone, is checked off. And then to your left, right below general, 2 options down, you're going to see one that's called display and brightness. And over to the right under display and brightness, you're going to see an option that says auto lock. Make sure you set that to never. And what that does, it prevents your iPad from going to sleep, meaning that it's going to stay on and it's not going to lose its connection. So now to share your content wirelessly, right? My iPad is just my sharing kiosk. This is going to be my capture device. You always start with the iPad first. You click on gallery. Once you click on gallery, what you're going to want to do is you're going to see a letter with the circle, right? You're going to click on that letter. In this case, it's an S. From the iPad, you're always, or your sharing kiosk, you're always going to be looking to activate the receiver. You're going to call this the receiving device. That turns into an R, and it's currently white. Now for my phone, I do the same thing. Click on gallery, click on the letter. And for my phone, this is the sending device. This is going to send the device over to the iPad. So we're going to hit activate sender, and you should see the name of your iPad pop up. This is the name of my iPad. I'm going to click on it, and it says success. I'm able to leave this screen and go back onto my record screen. And right now you should see a video pop up here wirelessly, right? So as soon as your videos are recorded from your iPhone, they get off the platform after the video's processing. The video then shoots itself to the iPad. It just popped up there wirelessly. So now your guest comes over to the sharing kiosk. They look at the thumbnail, they look at themselves and say, okay, that's me on the thumbnail. And they can do a video playback, right? They can share it via email if they want. They can share it via text if that's what they want to do. They can share it via QR code by scanning that QR code. They can share it via airdrop if they want to do airdrop, right? Or WhatsApp, right? So it gives you a bunch of ways to share your content. And after they're done sharing, it's just waiting for the next video to pop up, right? So I think that's pretty cool. So now I want to show you how to sync it to your Apple TV, right? This is my Apple TV here. As you can see, it has an HDMI to my TV and a power cord. That's it, right? I'm going to see if I'm able to do that real quick. Okay. Give me one quick second because I need to log off that computer. Give me one sec here. I could take some questions for now if that's what you guys, let me just terminate this connection here.
Going back to the sharing station, you said when you scan the barcode, on the iPad, you scan it as a sharing station, right?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. I think that's what I did wrong. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I'm going to come back in here and show you guys how the Apple TV works. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. So Apple TV is plugged into my TV here. That's all it's doing. This is Touchpix. This is from my phone, from the capture device. So what you do from your capture device, if you're using the Apple TV, right? Let me turn on the light. That way you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay. So this is Touchpix here. So what you want to do from your phone, you're going to want to grab your finger from the top right-hand corner. You're going to want to drag your finger to the middle of the screen. It opens up your control panel or your control center, right? You're going to be looking for this double square box, right? You're going to click on it. And that's activating your screen mirroring. It found my Apple TV. In this case, I have a couple of them, but I'm using the 360 one here. And once it connects, it shoots a question mark. Now you can tap the screen and you could kind of toggle away from that. But look at the screen now, right? This is a screen. This is the beauty of the Apple TV that adds value, right? So now look what happens when I press the record button, right? Look at the TV. Press the record button. So look, now wherever I'm moving my phone, that's the live view. 3, 2, 1. Everything's on the TV and the guests can see themselves being recorded, right? I'm just moving my phone around real quick. And now the TV comes like the main spectacle of your event. And people are looking at the TV, or they're kind of looking at the people being recorded. It actually prompts you on the TV once it's going through its cycle. In this case, is applying filters, blending videos, because it's adding that animated overlay. And you guys will be able to see the video playback shortly here. It's adding my outro video. I think we're missing the audio, and we're good to play back real quick. Okay, so it's on a final step, adding the audio video. As you can see, it took seconds for this to happen, which is great. Pretty fast. And there it is. There's your video playback on a 50-inch TV. So I think that's a pretty phenomenal feature. There's that collage effect, right? And there's that outro video that represents your brand, right? And furthermore, you're going to be able to see that the QR codes are popping up there, and you're able to scan those QR codes, and they'll download straight to your device. So again, this is an optional feature. The Apple TV is a small investment. You know, you can get these secondhand for less than $100. But if you're going to be taking the TV out to your events or a projector or anything that you know you can utilize, this is an easy way for you to start charging at least anywhere from $250 and up, right? Depending on your, you know, how big your TV screen is and how much work it is for it to set up, right? So this is a quick and easy way to upsell for some of your 360 events. So I highly recommend you guys consider it, because it's a small investment with a high return. So you guys have any questions regarding any of this? It's question time, basically.
I have an iPhone 11, and after like my first few videos, it comes out a little grainy. You recommend anything?
iPhone 11, yeah, so I'd recommend to know what kind of lights you're using, because it shouldn't come out grainy. The grainy part comes out when it's either your lights are not up to par, or you have low lighting, right? Because it's trying to compensate. So it really depends on your lighting situation as well. Because I also have an iPhone 11. I use that as a secondary device at times, or my second booth when I'm kind of booked for multiple events. But
Thank you.
But typically, yeah, lighting is super important.
Do you recommend anything on the iPhone, like I could change? Someone mentioned ISO, playing with that or something like that.
Yeah, you can play with the ISO and your exposure on your iPhone for sure. The higher the ISO, it'll compensate for lighting, but you don't want to go too high with the ISO, because that's when you start introducing grain. It's just like a DSLR camera, right? I think DSLR cameras are a great example of that. Like if you can operate on the lowest ISO with external lighting, that's better. But the moment you start increasing it dramatically, you'll see you're going to start introducing grain. So I would first figure out your lighting situation. If you can improve on your lighting situation, that'd probably be the best case scenario. But if you don't have the budget for that right now, then try messing with the ISO and the exposure. Turn up the exposure a little higher and see if that compensates for each other. Because at the end, we're just trying to reduce, you know, that grainy look.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Anything you guys want to see as far as with greater detail? I know I still got 20 of you guys on the call, and definitely appreciate you guys taking the time to learn how to use the software.
I have another question.
Sure.
Going back to the sharing station on the iPad, you said go to the S sign, and you said activate receiver or sender.
No, on the iPad, it's always receiver.
Activate receiver.
Correct. And then the iPhone should be activate sender. So always think about it as the kiosk is the receiving device, and the recording device is always a sending unit.
I have a question. Can you use the 360 and a photo booth at the same time using the software, or would you have to have two stations, like you set up and you got the photo booth going and 360? Can you use both of them with the software?
So yeah, that's kind of a loaded question. So let me hear a little bit about how you're trying to use it. Are you trying to offer maybe a 360 experience, but also offering a separate photo booth experience?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, photo booth on, yeah, at
Yeah.
a wedding.
So if you're doing it that way, I'm always going to recommend against it, because although you're able to do it, I want you to practice with one experience first, right? Once you get good with that experience, yes, you're able to do it. I wouldn't recommend it, because the way the industry works, I don't want you to undervalue yourself, right? If you're going to be trying to do this at a wedding, right? This is a great time for you to upsell what you have, but I don't want you to do it with the same device, because you're going to be setting yourself up for, I don't know whether you want to print or whether you want to just do digital sharing, right? Because you do have the option to do both, but I would much rather have you do one experience at a time, because things will go a lot smoother. Is it possible? Can you do it off one device? Yes, it's possible. Are you going to be running into some issues? I could see possibly, yes, you can run into some issues. And if you're not very familiar with the software, those things can be prevented by just doing two separate devices, providing a better experience by offering them independently. You can be making a lot of money if you can offer them independently, versus you can have an iPad booth, just do strictly photo booths with a nice backdrop. That's going to add value to the picture. The pictures will come out a lot better, versus you trying to do pictures on top of a 360 and not knowing how that background is going to look.
I have a question.
Sure.
What's the real benefit working with a GoPro over an iPhone? I've been having a lot of glitches and it keeps disconnecting. So I'm just considering going back to the iPhone.
Well, it's a preference, right? I'm a big iPhone user, and I know the guy, my guy Charles, who was on the call earlier, he's a big GoPro user, right? But I've toggled back and forth with both of them. I would say this: from using the GoPro is more forgiving with low light scenarios. So if your lighting is not up to par, the GoPro, the sensor that they have on that camera, is more forgiving. So your pictures or your videos may look a little sharper, right? But if you have really good lighting, there's actually a lot of people who use GoPros with very good lighting, and you really can't tell, a big difference between one or the other, right? It really depends on your lighting situation. But other than that, there's really no big difference. A lot of people tend to go with the GoPro based on the fact that the lighting is more forgiving, and they feel like that presentation just gives them a better presentation. That's all. It's just preference.
Got it. Thank you. And then if you use two devices, iPhone to record, the iPad for the touchscreen. So Tia tried to explain it, but I'm still a little confused. How do you start it then? Just when it starts rotating, it starts recording?
Okay, so you want to use a phone to record and an iPad to share?
Correct.
Yeah. So you have two options. Do you have a motorized spinner or a manual spinner?
Motorized.
Okay, so if you have a motorized spinner and you want to use it that way, I would recommend you play with the motion trigger, right? So put your iPhone on top of the arm, utilize the motion trigger, probably set your countdown to 1 second. And as soon as you hit power on your iPhone, I'm sorry, on your motorized spinner, the app is going to detect movement and it should start. So that'd be a good way to just do automatic record.
Okay, cool. Easy enough.
Yeah. Any other questions? And I see Tia's helping out in the chat again. I appreciate the love, Tia. Definitely appreciate your help.
Yeah, Tia, you're the greatest. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia.
Did you put your email up, Tia?
we got to get her on. We got to get her on the payroll team.
Yeah, y'all heard him. Y'all heard him say it.
we got to get her on board somehow.
Put that
Yeah.
email up to you. I'm about to email you.
Yeah. If you guys have any other questions, definitely, just kind of shoot us out an email. I'll put some emails up here. That way you guys can have easy access. The easiest email to get a hold of us, that'll be my man Charles. He's at support at touchpix.com. And we can do, you guys need to get a hold of me. I'm DJ1 at touchpix.com. Like I said, all of us work the support lines, Charles and myself. There's other team members also. More than likely you'll get one of us because we technically work on the opposite. Yeah, Tia says we can't hit her up till she's on payroll. We got to work on that. I gotta drop some love with a developer on your end.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
All right, so I already have the yearly subscription, but I know that you was talking about the white label subscription.
Okay.
Should I just keep what I have? I don't want to spend any more money if I didn't need to, but you did say that the white label subscription had more benefits.
Yeah, when did you buy your yearly?
I did it probably a couple months ago.
Okay.
I got it for the Black Friday special. I think you had it on sale for, I think, I want to say either 800.
So if you have the Black Friday special, you do have the white label then. That's what the one you have. That's the one that typically that we sell. So you have the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't discount any of the other ones. We only discount the white label. So if you bought it during one of our specials, then you do have the correct one, the white label.
Okay. If not, then I can just email you and you can look into it for me.
For sure. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Do you recommend any ISO videos settings on YouTube?
ISO is so dependent on your specific situation. So that's kind of a loaded question in the sense that every venue that you go to is going to be different. Not one venue is going to provide you the same lighting as the second one, right? So it's going to depend on trial and error on your end. So I don't know what lighting you have. If you have external lighting, I recommend if you don't have 4 light panels that are LED, preferably that are LED panels that are adjustable in brightness with warm and cool temperatures. If you have, I recommend at least 3 of those units. If you can position them around your platform in a triangular fashion, you'll be fine. If you have 4, that's even better. Another thing that's usually overlooked is the way people position these things. I'm a fan of positioning them high and pointing them down. I know a lot of people buy some mic stands, and even the setup that I showed you that I had earlier, I experiment with lighting all the time, and I'm trying to figure out what lighting works best. And in my experience is the higher you can position your lighting and pointing them down, the better the output's going to look, right? A lot of people have them kind of at eye view, which nothing is wrong with that, but I get a little bit of annoyed that you sometimes see the shadow of the spinning arm going around the platform. But it really comes down to trial and error to see how, what best fits your needs, right? Because my presentation may be a little different than what you want, right? Everybody has their own look that they're trying to achieve.
Thank you. What about a cordless ring light?
Cordless ring light. I recommend, I've always recommended this light, but, you don't need a very strong light, but I've recommended, are you guys able to see my screen here with the QR code?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a fan of this light. I don't know if people, ProMaster 10-inch. Yeah, I'm a fan of this ring light. It's a small ring light. And the reason why I'm a fan of it is because it's super small. It has a cold shoe. It comes with this cold shoe works if you're going to be using a GoPro, right? You can always mount your GoPro on here, but it also comes with a cell phone holder, like in this picture here, right? So you can position your phone. I position my phone a lot of the time in landscape mode, but you can play around with the settings. But why I'm a fan of it is because it's small, it's not as heavy. And the primary reason is because it holds these Sony style rechargeable batteries that you can fit in here. So if you buy like 2 or 3 batteries, that'll get you through an event. And also it has color temperatures, right? You can adjust the color temperature, whether it be warm or cold, right? So it gives you a good balance of both. Yeah, check that out. But I'm a fan of that light for sure. And for people that are going to be at the Photo Booth Expo, I'll have that light there. You guys can see it in some of our setups that we're going to have there. Yeah, so there's a lot more to Touchpix, right? Definitely recommend you guys check out our YouTube, because the stuff that we didn't touch on today, which is a little bit more advanced, is we do offer a software that you don't need any internet connection. I saw a lot of chat in our chat box as far as, what provider should I go with? Should I use a Verizon? Verizon is great. I use Verizon sometimes as well, but a lot of us have done events where they're doing maybe a wedding out in the boondocks where there's no cell phone reception or there's no Wi-Fi, right? And you know that these areas, even if you have a Verizon MiFi, they work off a cell phone signal. If you don't have a cell phone signal, you're not going to have, any type of signal to be able to share. So this is when I try to tell everybody, as soon as they get a good grasp on Touchpix, check out this ScanPix video. This is absolutely free. This comes with your ScanPix, with your Touchpix subscription. This, another minor investment, you purchase a router that will give you the model number 2, right? It's a one-time purchase. You purchase that router, and ultimately what you're doing is you're connecting your Touchpix app to the router. They'll be able to scan a QR code to log into the router, and that second QR code will allow the guest to log into your gallery, and it guarantees delivery whether you have internet or no internet connection. It's a great way to share and also save some money, because you don't have to have a hotspot and pay a monthly fee for this. This is just, you buy the router, which is typically an $80 router, and Touchpix will give you this software free for you to be able to share instantly like that. So check that video out. It's an advanced feature for sure. Let me see. And there's another one here I think that is pretty cool that we didn't touch on. I know not a lot of people do this, but this is a great example of some of the powerful stuff that Touchpix shows you. In this case, Martin, which is a developer, he's highlighted in this video. He's using a green screen effect, right? So that's his green screen setup. He's using the iPhone, but look at the output, right? Look at the output. He's going to show you how it looks under a green screen enclosure, and essentially is going to look, he's showing you his lighting setup, right? This is a green screen enclosure. You can pick these up. They're pretty affordable now, I think. And he's showing you how he's covered everything in green. And this is the output right here. So he'll show it to you now. Check that out. Huh. It looks pretty cool. He's just showing you the output. Looks like he's falling from the sky. So yeah, you can get very creative with Touchpix. So we're just scratching the surface in this webinar. We just want you guys to be super successful at what you guys do and feel confident going out there that you guys will have the support from the support team. You guys will have the support from the app and our community if you guys choose to join our Facebook community, right? We offer these free webinars every Wednesday. We can always pivot to something else that you want to learn if we get enough interest. But feel free to send us an email, a message, drop us some comments on our Facebook group, and we can pivot to kind of show you guys certain things that you guys want to learn, right? But we're here every Wednesday to give you some free tips and help you guys be successful in the 360 world. All right. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to call it a night. I thank you guys for joining. Hopefully you guys learned a lot today with Touchpix. It's not a very complicated app. I know this webinar can get a little overwhelming because it's a little long, but at the same time, we're trying to cover a lot of different things for you to be successful. You know, feel free to jump in next week if you guys need to, or just feel free to chime in and drop me a note via email or inside the Facebook group. We're pretty responsive with that. I appreciate everybody on the call. Tia, I appreciate you taking care of every question in the chat room. Definitely appreciate your help.
No problem. Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.